Dagannoth Kings are the old classic staple of old school Runescape. They're known for being fairly easy and boring Slayer boss, but the way I do DKs jumping between caves dramatically speeds them up and turns it into a mini Inferno solve, which is far more engaging and interesting. This is really great practice for Inferno as well. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you push yourself. Inferno, 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 Inferno. Calm down, it's not that bad. You can reach about 120 king kills per hour if doing all three with my method. At an average of about 27k GP per king only, it still comes to about 3.2 mil GP an hour, which is a lot higher than I thought it would be, just like with Zulrah. The main reason anyone comes here is pet, which is why I suggest just doing regular Dagannoths for Slayer until you have some nasty gear to come slap the kings with a vengeance later. For requirements, these are about the highest gear requirement of almost any boss in the game since you are tri-breeding, especially when you factor in my ult. The main benefit of the ult here is to pack yak more supplies and heal/spec transfer your main when possible. I'd highly recommend getting Fremi Elites completed before coming here, as it notes all the bone drops, which is a significant chunk of the profit. You can downgrade much of the gear here without much issue, although T-bow is very important for being able to hop between caves. Technically, you could use Bofa, but it's 30% worse DPS than T-bow here. I'm first showing the setup I use with my ult packing supplies. It is a bit different from what you would use solo. I'll show that one next. I wear max ranged initially with Primordial Boots and Berserker Ring. Even with an ult, you're still somewhat limited in how many switches you can bring for a long task. Zerite Vambraces are absolutely massive here. They increase your max hit from 83 to 86 with the max ranged boost. If you can't use Divines because you have no ult, they are less big. I bring a 6-way melee switch. Downgrading Torva for Bandos is not a big deal. You could theoretically use Blood Fury here for no max hit loss with Torva, but that is expensive and I found it's kind of unnecessary. Although it might allow you to use Claws instead of SGS, I haven't tested. I also bring Harm Staff with only the major damage boosting magic items. Ancestral would be a DPS boost, but your trip lengths are still limited a bit by prayer potions, so I don't bring it. 2 antidotes and 2 of each divine, super combat, and ranging. You cannot use divines without an ult, so keep that in mind. 2 rune thrown axes to get into the caves, 8 prayer potions, SGS for sustain. I found ult alone is not enough. Max cape for various benefits. Replace that with a construction cape or relic teleport instead if you don't have one. I use the stamina boost on the cape to get to DKs. You'll need a stamina or explorer's ring if you don't have one. Finally, rune pouch with wrath, nature, and air runes. This allows you to alch drops with your tome equipped. Make sure you equip tome first in your switch or it will pull your autocast off. Make sure you are on the standard spellbook. For ult, I wear this. Graceful with some tank gear. Hit points cape, regen bracelet, and Bryophyta staff. He packs a bunch of extra supplies for you. 3 sets of divines, 2 extra antidote, a stamina to get there, and an emergency brew for the same reason. I bring 14 extra prayer potions. Make sure one of those is a restore if you're bringing that brew. Bring a relic teleport, cosmic, astral, blood, body, and law runes. These are so you can cast heal other, energy transfer, and dream, allowing you to regenerate HP even faster. The highest requirement is 91 mage for energy transfer. If your ult doesn't have the mage level, he can still come along and be helpful by bringing supplies. You can also theoretically use Guthans on your ult and heal up that way. Although I found Dream and Heal Other is plenty of HP. If you don't have an ult, you'll want something more like this. Keep in mind, it's going to take some flicking to get through a task without an ult. Downgrade the harm for Sang and bring Spectral if you have it, since the Spinal Lips can drain your prayer. About 3 regular ranging and super combat. You don't have the room or HP to bring divines. Sanity potions make a lot of sense here. They provide extra prayer and act as an antidote. And since space is seriously limited, they can reduce the amount of flicking required. You'll need a pet rock to get here without the ult, 2 thrown axes again, emergency brew, Sarah Godsword, imbued heart, and pouch with blood/death/soul on ancients for blood barrage healing on Rex, as well as explorer's ring for the run through the layer and Alks. Before we go to the DK's layer, turn NPC aggression timer plugin on for the ult. This is going to be important later, and if you don't do it before you go there, it's not going to work. I have never once remembered to turn it on like I should, unfortunately. This is one of the longest and hardest runs for any boss in the game. Prep out a stamina dose in your main before you head to the lair as well. We'll be doing a lot of running. Have both accounts teleport to Relica, and have the ult follow your main. Don't forget you can just use an item on your main for better pathing. Head over to Waterbirth Island, and head into the cave. Camp the prayer on both accounts that is most optimal for each part of the caves. Run over to the corner of the cave over here, stand on both pressure plates to open the door. Run past the crabs and use a rune thrown axe special attack on the barricade. You can drop them after you've done that. We're going to awkwardly be running on both accounts and changing prayer very often. Head down the ladder praying magic, then down the next ladder praying ranged, past the crabs praying melee down this ladder, then praying ranged and running past these Dagannoths down the ladder, pray magic against the wall of Sulky, and go up then down this ladder camping protect magic, run past the crabs praying protect melee, then pray either protect ranged or melee for this room and go up the ladder, then down the next. Continue camping prayer. I spec transfer from my ult for the final burst of run energy here. Run through this hallway, climb down, and pray melee as you run past the lobsters. Pray whatever you want as you run past all 3 types of enemies, past the DK's trapdoor, and into the safe corner on both accounts. Hop worlds at the crack until you find a world with no adventures in either cave. Once you find a world, hop there on both accounts and have your ult take a fat nap here to start recovering lost HP from the run. Once you've been here 10 minutes and your ult loses aggro, have him cross the route and sit right in front of it so he can heal other, and spec transfer your main the instant he comes up from the King's Lair. Once you're ready, sip a Divine Ranging and head down either trapdoor praying ranged. Some quick general info about the Kings. They each follow the combat triangle but are not invincible against the wrong style, just very tanky. Dagannoth Rex is melee, Dagannoth Supreme is ranged, and Dagannoth Prime is magic. The only truly dangerous king is Prime, as his magical attack maxes a disgusting 50. The other 2 kings' maxes are about half as high. Most important thing to understand is that if you are tanking damage, Prime is the priority to be protected against. Each king has their own square of wander range, which we abuse. Rex wanders farthest, in the southeast quadrant. Prime wanders the middle, and Supreme wanders closest. Prime can still be in range of the ladder when you go down, although this is fairly unlikely, which is why we pray ranged. This is by far the hardest part of the method and requires a decent amount of practice to become decent at. We need to off-tick Prime and Supreme. If both Prime and Supreme are on you when you go down, go right back up, wait a few seconds, and then go down praying magic. Again, hoping only Supreme is in range. The reason I kill Prime first is he is by far the most dangerous piece in this puzzle, and your T-bow has an incredible 10-tile range, allowing us to avoid Rex from almost any angle. To easily off-tick, when Supreme is attacking you, wait for him to begin the animation for his next attack, and then fire at Prime. This will perfectly 2-tick off-tick them, allowing a very simple flicking pattern to be set up. Anytime you are flicking 2 monsters, you are just looking at the animation of the monster you are prepared to pray against, and then switching to the other when you see the animation start. There's a rare case where only Prime is attacking you when you go down. When this happens, you can avoid flicking and run over to the northwest corner of the cave and fight Prime by himself. Don't expect this, it's most certainly the outlier. If you ever end up taking damage from Prime to the point you drop below 50 HP, just come back up and have your ult heal you right back up, and then try again. You can also off-tick them if they are on you the same tick by walking under Supreme as Prime fires, although this is a lot more dangerous than setting it up the other way. Once you have Prime dealt with, just switch into melee and start attacking Supreme. If you're ever at 100% spec, just always drop an SGS spec on Supreme regardless of HP for the prayer. If Rex aggro's onto you while dealing with Supreme, just run to this back corner and safe spot him while praying ranged and kill Rex first. In this case, I like to throw on my Armadillo to protect myself from the Spinal Lips more. I like to kill Rex last, as it allows me to pray melee and run around grabbing the drops from the other kings while attacking Rex. This saves a lot of time. The other nice thing is when you are in magic gear, you have the tome on anyways, so you can also alch their drops while running around. Once you've picked up everything, I bring Rex over to this corner to safe spot him, praying magic to protect from the Spinal Lips. After you've killed all 3, grab the loot, head up, and jump into the other cave. Before you do that, if you ever need health, have your ult spec transfer you, and if you are ever out of prayer potions, trade more supplies over from the ults as well. I actually died in this trip in a very dumb way. I was pretty mad about it in the moment, but this was actually pretty good because I can show getting back here to get your items, as DK's has one of the most dangerous places to die in the game. Since you have tons of cash and gear, and it's a very long run back to the grave, and that grave remains in the lair. You have 15 minutes to get back, which is more than enough time. I've heard a lot of horror stories of people sending their grave to death's coffer and having to pay over 30 mil to get their items back. Grab a pet rock and throne axes from bank, as well as some prayer potions and food. More food than I grabbed probably to be safe. Run back through the same route I used before, go down into the DK's lair, praying ranged, and locate your grave. We need Prime not to be there, so go down and up until that's the case. Right-click the grave and hit loot to get your stuff back. Go up and down as you do this to put gear on and drop items to get the rest. If you die a second time grabbing your items, they are likely going to go to the coffer before you can get back again, so be careful and don't panic. DK's main drops are the rings. The only valuable rings these days being Berserker and Archer's Ring. I still don't really know why the Archer's Ring has value, that thing is nearly useless. Berserker Ring is currently 2.2 mil, and Archer's Ring is about 4 mil. The regular drops are also relatively decent and do add up. which is mainly just the bones. Harmstaff helps reduce supply costs, but it's still not cheap to do these. Still, 3.2 mil GP an hour before supply cost isn't terrible at all. The main reason we come here is the pets. There's a pet for each king, and they are all 1 out of 5,000. In theory, on paper, this should come to about 125 hours for all 3 pets at 120 kills per hour. But when you factor in the run here and the fact that efficiency drops drastically once you get one of those pets, it's quite a bit longer than this in practice. If you're watching this video around when it goes up, I'll be doing Dagannoth Kings on my Twitch channel. I just recently became a Twitch affiliate, so people can actually subscribe now. So come check it out. And that's about it for the video. Leave a like if you liked it, and or subscribe. Thanks, guys.